All right, this is section 1.5, and today we're going to talk about different kinds of angle pair relationships. So these are all going to be vocab words that deal with two or more angles and that they are coming together and making something. So the first one is complementary angles. I'm betting you've heard this one before. This is just two angles that add to 90. So in our picture, two angles that do that. Now we're not talking about an angle that is 90. We want two of them that add up to 90. So an example here would be the 53 and the D. That would work. Or we've got E and F over here. They would also make 90. Supplementary are two angles that add up to 180. So in this picture, oh, I should have said two or more on both of these. Sorry, you can have complementary, more than two angles that come together to make 90. Like if there was a third angle in here, all these guys could be complementary. So supplementary are just angles that get you to 180. So we're going to take this 90-degree angle, this E and this F. As long as they make a straight line, they'll make 180 degrees. So 1, 2, 3, all three of those will make 180. Or, we'll stick an or in there. We could also do D 53 and 90. That could be another one. Squeeze that in there. Adjacent angles are two angles that share a side. Like 53 and D, or F and 90, or 90 and E. So any two angles that are next to each other and they share a side. So E and F, or 53 and 90. It doesn't have to add up to 90 or 180. It doesn't have to do anything special. It's just two angles that share a side. So they're kind of like back to back. So the non-adjacent would be two angles that don't share a side. Do not share. So that would be like D and F. They are completely not even connected. I mean, they touch at the vertex, but that doesn't count. Another one would be like E and 53. They don't touch at all. No shared side. Linear angles, kind of like right in the word, they make a line. So they are very commonly connected to supplementary. These types of angles also make 180 degrees together. They make a straight line, same as supplementary. Why supplementary is different is because I could actually have two angles that are totally separate. Like if I have this angle and then maybe its match is right over here. They could be supplementary, but they don't have to be adjacent and touching in order to make 180 or to make a straight line. So linear angles are adjacent angles that add to 180. That add to 180. So the key is here that they have to be adjacent. Supplementary, they don't have to. They usually are in most of the stuff we do, but they don't have to be. Linear angles, they need to be touching, they need to be adjacent, and they need to make a straight line, so that 180. So linear angles would be like E, F, and 90. Or you could do 53, D, and 90. Vertical angles, these are interesting. I don't really have a good definition, like a word definition for you for vertical angles. I always just draw a picture. So if you have two lines that cross, vertical angles are like this. Or if you have two lines that cross, they're like this. Those are vertical angles. So all they do is share the vertex. They don't share anything else. So they're definitely non-adjacent, but I don't know in words how to like say another example or to define it. I just do it with pictures. So two vertical angles here would be like D and F, or 53 and E would be vertical. Those would be your examples. And then we're just going to work on doing some naming and then a little bit of solving. So can you in this picture name a pair of complementary angles? So first off, we want to remember that this is 90. So complementary, I'm looking for two angles equal 90. I look for this box right away because that is 90 all by itself. So then I'm just looking on the other side of that to make a straight line. This would also have to be 90. So that means 3 and 5 make 90. Two supplementary, any angles that add you up to 180. You have a couple of different options here. You could do like 1 and 4. Could do 4 and 5. And 5. You could do 1, 2, 3. Those would be supplementary. 5, 3, 2. Those guys would be. So you got a bunch of options there, just as long as they come together and make that 180 or that straight line. Adjacent angles, any two of them that are next to each other, there's a ton. I'll just do 1 and 2. You can do 2 and 3, 3 and 5, 5 and 4, 4 and 1. Any of those combos, as long as they're next to each other, kind of back to back. Linear angles, you just need some adjacent angles. These have got to touch now, and they need to make a straight line. So although 3 and 5 touch, their edges of 3 and 5 do not make a straight line. It's bent in the middle. So 4 and 5 could be linear. 1 and 4. Not always, but very often your supplementary and your linear are usually the same. Vertical angles, you only have one pair here, and that would be 1 and 5. You're looking for two lines that cross each other, and then kind of the two angles that are diagonal from each other. Those are your vertical ones. And the only one I should have included here is non-adjacent, just to give yourself an example. So you have one here. That would be like 1 and 3. They don't share a side, and they don't touch. So 1 and 3 would work, 2 and 4 would work, 1 and 5, you got some options. Now let's use those ideas, but actually do some solving. This is where the geometry comes in. So we've got a 2x, a 3x, and a box. The box is 90. I'm going to throw 90 there right away. This makes a straight line, so we know that the whole thing is 180, straight line. So we could do like a P, and then a whole. So we've got 3 parts, and then the whole thing. Fence it, put some like terms together. The 90 goes first. Cancel it, drop the 5x. And then 5x divided by 5. Whoops, sorry. 90 divided by 5 is what I meant to say. But we'll also divide that by 5. X equals 18. And this is to find the value of the variable. Okay, so we're done at x. No plugging back in for this one. Next, I've got this interesting picture. These two are called linear angles. They are called adjacent. They are called supplementary. How did I get an 18? 10x plus 1 and 9x minus 11 equals 180. So we're going to fence that. We're going to get our like terms together, and then we're going to get our numbers together. So we've got 19x's, and then a plus 1 and a minus 10 makes, minus 11 makes minus 10. We'll add the 10 over. And then we're going to divide by that 19. So x is 10. Next up, this is an interesting picture. Anytime we have two lines that cross, we're probably looking at maybe some vertical angle stuff. If I look at these two, I've got an x and a y, and we can't combine different variables, so we don't want that matchup. These two would be vertical, but again, that's a y and an x, and we don't want to match up variables that don't go together. So we're going to look at these two, and they're adjacent to each other. They're next to, and they share side, and so these two add up to 180. So 16x and 9x and 5, equals 180. Draw that fence down. We're going to add our like terms. So 25x plus 5. Let's subtract our 5 over. And now we're going to divide by that 25. And x is 7. We also need to solve for y, because the directions did say solve for each variables. So we need to get our y in there too. I can do one of two equations for y. I can do these two together equal 180. Or I can do these two equal each other. Oops, 4y, sorry. Either way, you have to put the 7 in where the x is. So whichever one you like solving better, you're just going to take the x, put a 7 in there. I'm just going to use the bottom one. And then we're just going to finish solving. So 9 times 7 and then add a 5 to it, you get a total of 68. 4y equals 68, and we'll divide both sides by 4. So y equals, whoops, well, for Pete's sake, keep hitting the wrong button, 17. And there you go. So learning some more vocab. Chapter 1 is all about vocabulary, so we can use it the rest of the year. Complementary, supplementary, adjacent, next to, linear, vertical, those are your really big terms. You need to be able to both identify them and then do some solving with them.